Veridian was once a tapestry of vibrant hues. Emerald greens carpeted the rolling hills, sapphire rivers sang clear, bright songs, ruby-red poppies danced in sun-drenched meadows, their petals like joyful flames. But a shadow had fallen, a chilling blight known only as the Stillness. Colors began to leach from the world, as if a giant unseen hand was slowly washing them away. The laughter of children grew faint, their playful shouts becoming mere echoes. The songs of birds became hesitant whispers, lost in the growing quiet. Energy, once abundant, seeped from the very soil, leaving the land tired and utterly gray. Veridian was slowly, silently, dimming into a monochrome whisper of its former glory, its vibrant heart growing weaker with each passing day, its very soul seeming to sigh. In a small village nestled beside a fading wood where the trees drooped their weary branches, lived Elara. She was not a hero of boisterous tales, nor did she seek grand adventures. No, Elara was quiet, a soul who found her words in the gentle rustle of leaves and the intricate patterns of the clouds. She possessed a rare gift, a deep unspoken connection to the natural world, a secret language shared only with the whispering wind. She could feel the faintest tremor of a struggling sapling deep within the earth. She understood the silent sorrow of a wilting flower, its colors slowly surrendering. While others despaired loudly, their voices filled with anger and fear, Elara listened intently to the fading pulse of Veridian. Her heart ached with a quiet empathy for the suffering land, a land she loved more than words could ever say. The village elders spoke in hushed, worried tones, their faces etched with concern. They recalled ancient legends, tales of the Lumina Blossom, a flower of pure light. This mystical flower, hidden deep within the treacherous whispering caves, was said to hold the very essence of Veridian's vitality, its magical heartbeat. Many brave souls, strong warriors clad in shining armor and clever mages wielding powerful spells, had ventured into those shadowed depths before them. They sought to seize the blossom by force, believing their might could conquer any obstacle or trick its guardians with cunning schemes. Yet, none had ever returned with the prize, only stories of their failure echoing back. The caves, it seemed, did not yield to such methods, only swallowing hope whole and leaving despair in its place. The path to restoration remained stubbornly hidden from sight. One cool evening, as the last sliver of a pale sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, mournful shadows, Elara sat by the ancient weeping willow at the edge of the silent stream. The water barely moved, reflecting the gray sky above. She felt a gentle nudge, not from the wind, but from the earth itself, a subtle vibration beneath her. It was a faint, desperate whisper, a current of need flowing through the roots of the old tree, into her very being, a silent plea for help. The land was calling to her, not with a shout or a grand command, but with a soft, sorrowful plea that resonated deep within her soul. It was a call for help, a fragile hope extended to its quietest daughter. Elara knew with a certainty that settled deep in her bones that she must answer this desperate call. With a small satchel containing a little bread, a few dried berries and a water skin, Elara set off at the first hint of dawn. She carried no sword, no shield, no glittering charms, only the quiet resolve that bloomed in her gentle heart like a resilient wildflower. The journey to the whispering caves was long, leading her through lands increasingly drained of life and color, past silent forests and parched fields. The entrance to the caves gaped like a dark, hungry mouth in the side of a barren gray mountain. A chilling draft sighed from within its depths, carrying faint, unsettling murmurs that seemed to tug at one's courage, whispering doubts into the bravest of hearts. It was a place that promised mystery, but also a profound, draining emptiness that discouraged even the most valiant from entering its shadowed depths, its very presence a warning. Stepping inside, Elara immediately felt the atmosphere press down upon her, heavy and cold. It was laden with the echoes of past failures, the lingering despair of those who had come before and not returned, and the weight of the stillness that had seeped even into this subterranean realm. The air itself felt thin, almost brittle, as if the very life was being drawn from her with each shallow breath she took. Faint whispers slithered along the cold stone walls, not words but feelings of despair, confusion, and utter hopelessness. They tried to coil around her spirit, to convince her to turn back, to succumb to the overwhelming sadness that permeated the very rock of the cave. It was a place designed to break the will, to extinguish the smallest spark of hope. Soon, Elara reached her first true challenge, the silent grotto. The narrow passage she had been following opened into a vast circular chamber where the path ahead fractured into a dozen identical-looking tunnels, each disappearing into deeper darkness. Illusions flickered at the edges of her vision, some showing pathways bathed in an inviting, warm light, others hinting at terrible dangers lurking just beyond sight. There was no sound here, only a profound, unnerving silence that made her own heartbeat thunder in her ears like a frantic drum. To choose wrongly meant being lost forever in the endless twisting maze of the cave's deceptions, a fate many previous adventurers had undoubtedly met. The grotto demanded a choice but offered no clear guidance, only confusion. Others might have guessed, their hearts pounding with uncertainty, or used powerful magic to try and dispel the confusing illusions. Elara, however, closed her eyes, shutting out the deceptive visions. She quietened her mind, pushing away the confusing sights and the oppressive, heavy silence that sought to crush her spirit. Instead, she reached out with her other senses, her innate connection to the living world, a gift she had always possessed. She listened not with her ears, for there was nothing to hear, but with her entire being, feeling for the subtle energies of the earth. Faintly, so faintly it was almost imperceptible, she felt it, a subtle tremor of life, a gentle, almost inaudible hum emanating from one specific tunnel. It was the resonance of the earth, the faintest breath of true passage. Trusting this deep inner knowing, she stepped forward confidently, her bare feet finding the true way. The true path led Elara deeper into the mountain's cold, dark heart. The oppressive silence of the grotto gradually gave way to a new, more jarring trial as she ventured onwards. She entered a series of vast, echoing chasms, their ceilings lost in the impenetrable darkness far above. Here, the air was not silent, but filled with a cacophony of discordant sounds that reverberated from wall to wall, groans of shifting rock, like giants stirring in their sleep, the relentless drip 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 of water like mournful tears falling onto stone, and high-pitched whistling winds that seemed to carry ancient sorrows through the narrow fissures. These sounds clashed and fought, creating a disorienting, painful noise that grated on the nerves and frayed the spirit, an assault on the senses. It was a symphony of imbalance, a raw reflection of the world's own disharmony, amplified within these stone walls. This was the echoing chasms, a place designed to shatter resolve through sonic assault, to break the spirit with its relentless noise. The lingering despair of Veridian seemed to have found its true voice here, a chorus of anguish that echoed endlessly. Previous heroes Elara knew from the whispered legends told around village fires had tried to combat the noise with their own forms of power. Some had shouted defiant war cries, attempting to overpower the din with the strength of their own lungs. Others had tried to plug their ears to block out the overwhelming sound, or even cast spells of silence. All had failed. Driven mad by the ceaseless clamor or forced to retreat, their courage broken by the relentless soul-shaking cacophony. The chasms demanded a different kind of strength, one that did not fight but listened and understood. Elara did not try to silence the sounds, for she knew that was not the way. Nor did she attempt to ignore them, for they were too powerful. Instead, she found a smooth, cool stone, slightly damp from the cave air, and sat upon it. She closed her eyes and listened. She listened deeply, patiently, to each individual sound within the overwhelming cacophony, seeking its source, its meaning. She heard the deep pain in the groaning rocks, the profound loneliness in the endlessly dripping water, the ancient fear in the whistling wind. Understanding their sorrow, their individual notes of grief, she began to hum. It was a soft, gentle melody, a tune from her own quiet heart, filled with empathy and peace. Her song did not seek to dominate, but to weave between the discordant notes, to offer comfort, to find the thread of harmony hidden within the chaos, coaxing them into a softer resonance. Slowly, miraculously, as her gentle song filled the air, the harsh sounds began to soften, their sharp edges smoothed by her melody. The groans of the rock became gentler rumbles like a creature settling into peaceful sleep. The frantic drips found a calmer, more meditative rhythm. The wind's mournful shriek softened to a sigh, a release of old pain. Harmony, fragile at first like a newborn bird, then growing stronger and more confident, settled over the vast chasms. The path forward, once obscured by the overwhelming noise and confusion, became clear, as if the very stones had aligned to guide her. Following the newly peaceful echoes, Elara walked on, until she reached the very heart of the whispering caves. There, in a small, hidden alcove, bathed in an incredibly faint, flickering light, lay the Lumina Blossom. It was frail, its delicate petals drooped, its luminescence barely a spark against the overwhelming gloom that surrounded it. The Lumina Blossom, the legendary hope of Veridian, lay before Elara, but it was dying. Its once vibrant glow, fabled to illuminate the darkest caverns, was now a mere whisper of light, pulsing weakly, as if each beat was a monumental struggle for its fragile existence. The air around it felt cold, heavy, and devoid of the vibrant energy it was supposed to embody. It was clear to Elara that any attempt to simply pluck it, to take it by force, would extinguish its fragile life completely. The blossom was not a prize to be won, but a life to be cherished, and it was perilously close to fading into nothingness. Elara felt a profound wave of empathy wash over her, not for a magical object but for a living being in deep pain. She did not reach out to take it. Instead, she knelt beside the wilting flower, her movements slow and gentle. Carefully, she cleared away the dust and debris that had gathered around its delicate stem and fallen onto its drooping petals. She whispered soft words of comfort, sharing her own quiet strength, her unwavering hope for Veridian. She spoke of the beauty of the world outside, of the colors she longed to see return, of the silent songs of the forest and the joyful rush of the rivers. She offered not demands or bargains, but companionship and gentle care. For a long time, Elara simply sat with the Lumina Blossom, sharing her warmth and her quiet, persistent belief in its recovery. She imagined the warmth of the sun on its petals, the nourishing touch of summer rain, the vibrant, rich earth from which it should draw strength. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the faint light within the blossom began to steady. Then it grew, a tiny bit brighter, then brighter still, pushing back the oppressive shadows. Nurtured by Elara's patient kindness, its delicate petals unfurled a little, a soft warm glow spreading outwards like a miniature dawn. The Lumina Blossom began to revive. It did not offer a bloom to be plucked but pulsed once brightly, sharing a single glowing seed into Elara's open palm. Carrying the precious seed, Elara made her way out of the now peaceful caves. As she stepped back into the fading world, a gentle warmth radiated from the seed in her hand. Where its light touched the gray land, a tinge of color returned. Green unfurled on the parched grass like a soft carpet being unrolled. Flowers, long dormant, lifted their weary heads, their petals slowly regaining their lost hues. The air grew a little sweeter, carrying the scent of damp earth and new life. By the time she reached her village, life was already stirring, a wave of gentle healing spreading outwards. Veridian began to breathe again, its colors returning in a soft, steady renewal. Elara returned not as a conquering hero but as a quiet gardener, her humble strength having shown that true power lies in kindness and empathy.